Hey guys, this is Clint at Man Skull 101, and I thought I'd talk today with you a little bit about long range shooting, or extreme long range shooting, what we call extreme long range shooting. And we're out to, a couple thousand yards. Well, that's a long ways. To us, that's extreme long range. When we hit the 1,500 yard mark, that was crazy. And then we hit a mile. And then we hit 18, we had a spot for 1834. And now we've shot all the way out to 2378. And so part of the problem is finding somewhere to shoot that far. It's not that easy. But we found these spots that we can shoot that far, and we've had a great time doing it. It's been a progression, about a 5-year learning curve for us. We started this about 5 years ago, bought a 300 Win Mag and worked our way out to about 800 yards, and I was hitting a, bowling ball sized target at 800 yards repeatedly, and we thought that was pretty cool, and it is. It takes some diligence to get to that point. You got to do the math, you got to do the practice. But now we're out to, my son has gotten hits at 2,378 yards with a Remington long range, Remington 700 long range, shooting a 300 Ultra Mag, which is this. Now, just for comparison's sake, that's a 300 Ultra Mag, and everybody's favorite rifle is well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people's favorite rifle is an AR. Well, here's the cartridge for an AR. I'll set those right there so you can do a little comparison. Just dwarfs that AR round by quite a bit. So, an AR round, you're running, 25 grains of powder roughly, depending on what kind of powder, obviously. And then with this 300 Ultra, you're running 90 grains or so, 80 to 100 grains, depending on your powder again. So big difference in those. And let's talk about the rifle a little bit. Now, this is not my son's rifle. This is my rifle. Again, almost identical rifles, though. This is a Remington 700 long range. It's got a heavy bull barrel. I put a muzzle brake on it, which helps a lot. It's got a Bell & Carlson stock on it, and a Vortex scope. We've also, one big improvement we did to these, I've checked this already, this is a clear and empty gun, safe in all directions, right there, not loaded. One of the big improvements we did to this was put in a jewel trigger, and they're a great trigger, not cheap, pushing 300 bucks, but a great trigger. We've got these, my son and I both have them set identically at 16 ounces. And there's no way you're going to get the gist of this with me just pulling the trigger on this video, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just ever so slightly give it a little tickle. And like I say, and it's adjustable way down below that, but 16 ounces is pretty light. For sure, I wouldn't hunt with it at 16 ounces. I'd fatten it up to 2.5 pounds probably. Anyways, so we went out. Last time my son was down, he lives in northern Idaho, up in the Panhandle. And last time he was down, we got to go out and go shooting up in the mountains here in Northern California, where, we found these locations we can shoot long distance like that. And Josh, my son, had some great success. Namely, he was able to hit our target at 2,378 yards. Now, just to put that into perspective, at 1,000 yards, your bullet is going to drop, say 20 minutes, 19, 20 minutes, something like that, which adds up to about 207 inches. At 2,378 yards, we're running, and oddly enough, my gun shoots fairly different than what his does. I was running about 90 minutes, and he was well over 100 minutes of angle. So at 90 minutes, that's 2,232 inches of bullet drop. Obviously a lot of bullet drop. The bullet is in the air a little over 4 seconds, and yet he's able to get these hits. I couldn't do it. I was close, but I couldn't hit it. I shot a group about maybe like that, just off the side of the target, made a quick adjustment, and then never saw another hit. That's part of the problem, actually, seeing your hits at that distance. Pretty difficult. Even with the spotting scope, your bullet is slowed down and just doesn't make that big a splash on dirt to see where you're hitting. Talking about slow down and that type of thing, it is subsonic at that distance, and roughly about 1,000 feet a second. So the speed of sound is 1,142, I think, at sea level. We're down to about 1,000 feet a second. So it's gone through the transonic stage and is now currently subsonic. But judging by our targets, which was thin sheet metal, the holes are nice and straight through there. The bullet's not keyholing, going through sideways, at different angles. It's going through nice and straight. Obviously, a little bit of a trajectory to it like that. But, so the bullet's still staying stabilized, even though it's subsonic. So, pretty awesome. We had a great time. At that distance, even, here's a little comparison for you. At that distance, 2,378 yards, our bullet has 542 foot-pounds of energy still, which is more than a hot 45 at the muzzle. So definitely lethal. We're at 1.31 miles, mile and a third and a little bit, and still totally lethal. At the muzzle now, that same cartridge, that same round, a little over 3,000 feet a second, or right at 3,000 feet a second, we're at about 4,500 foot-pounds of energy. So it's a monster. This is a monster rifle. Shoots super flat. That big, heavy Hornady ELD match bullet is a great bullet for us. It's working pretty well. It's a 777 BC. And like I say, we push it around 3,000 feet a second. Anyway, so this is the preface of part 2, the video part 2, where we actually went shooting. I just kind of wanted to bring you up to speed. Again, we'll show you the target. We'll show you where we were at. And my son Josh is the one doing the shooting there. I wasn't able to pull it off that day. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you enjoy part 2 of the ELR shooting. Thanks. Have a good one.